Monster Jam is back at the fabulous Metrodome in Minneapolis, Minnesota for the second time this season, and this time a massive lineup, 16 trucks on hand. The fans have jammed into this huge dome to see great racing and great freestyle, and it's coming up next. Monster Jam fans, welcome again to Minneapolis, our second stop this year for Monster Jam excitement, and it's a huge 16-truck lineup, and that has the stands filled as we go through all the racing competition. The fans are going to get a classic championship race with Bounty Hunter against Gravedigger. I'm Scott Douglas here to call the action. My colleague Greg Whitaker will handle the interviews down on the floor, and right now we are ready for this heavyweight battle. It's a battle that we've seen in the championship race at the NGK Spark Plugs World Finals before. Team Bounty Hunter and Team Gravedigger ready to square off. Jim Cretin and the Bounty Hunter, who's been having already an outstanding start to the season, especially in the big stadiums, goes up against Team Gravedigger driver Chad Tingler, a veteran of action all over the world for Team Gravedigger, but he's got a big challenge to try and knock off the powerful Bounty Hunter on this big, fast course that really looks like it's just made for that huge Ford horsepower that big Ford Expedition Jimmy Cretin has put out. And right there, Chad's in a little bit of trouble. Gravedigger bicycles up on two wheels, and Bounty Hunter grabs the advantage. He has a slight lead over Gravedigger as this championship race here in Minneapolis continues. Now, Jimmy Cretin really able to push it at the end, and the Bounty Hunter will record the victory. Jimmy Cretin opening it up. Here they come to the finish line, and yes, indeed, it's a win for Jimmy Cretin and the Bounty Hunter, and it's a sweet victory anytime you can get a win over Team Gravedigger. So Jimmy Cretin thrilled to be able to grab the win here in Minneapolis. So we're going to send it down to Greg Whitaker. He's going to catch up with our winner, Jimmy Cretin of the Bounty Hunter.
Your winner, Jimmy Cretin. Jimmy, congratulations on a victory here for racing.
Minneapolis, how we doing? You know what? Don and I got so many fans here. I can't tell you how many letters I got coming through the line. We love you. We appreciate you coming out. And things are mighty warm in here and only getting hotter.
Only getting hotter, Jimmy. Again, congratulations. And this belongs to you. The racing trophy and the opportunity to double down. You can do it tonight only if you take on these 15 other monster trucks in freestyle.
You know what? No, those 15 trucks got to take on me. I come here to run this thing into the ground. That's what you came to see me to do, and I can't wait to do it.
Running for your double down event, your winner in racing. Let's hear it for Bounty Hunter.
All right, thanks, Greg. Let's get on to freestyle, because with 16 trucks, we have so much action to show you from Minneapolis. And here's John Killinger bringing back the name of a truck that was one of the early favorites at Monster Jam when a guy named Charlie Pauken drove it. Charlie is now the driver for Team Gravedigger, so Excalibur has come back with John Killinger behind the wheel. Brings back a famous name, a famous truck, and this new driver looks very, very impressive early on in his Monster Jam career. Now, once again, here in freestyle with a field like this, we're going to show you a ton of action, and the bottom line is you really have to be spectacular and stand out, because the judges have a tough decision with 16 trucks to score to try and determine who is the winner of this competition. For Excalibur, it's up to him to come out and try to be as impressive and big right off the bat, make everybody else try to go over the bar that he sets with this first performance. As you can already tell, there are some huge obstacles on this floor as the Monster Jam officials have decided to put up a big challenge for the 16 trucks who have come to town, and we'll see exactly who is able to hit them the best. For Killinger, the run will get him a score of 15, and we move on with more competition. Dan Evans, they call him Airman Dan, the Destroyer, based in Scottsville, Michigan, a real world traveler veteran as he starts off with a nice slap wheelie, has been one of the dominant drivers in Monster Jam Europe, but he did not want this. The wheel breaks off right off the bat, and the score will only be an 11 for Dan Evans and the Destroyer. Next up, here's Joe Miller in the Iron Outlaw. Now, This truck, you may notice, looks quite similar to the Bounty Hunter who won racing, except for the paint job, it pretty much is. They are teammates. This is the 2 Extreme Racing team owned by Jimmy Cretin. The Bounty Hunter driver, his second truck is the Iron Outlaw. Again, a different paint scheme, but pretty much these are very similar trucks on the inside. And what that means, as much as anything else, they have those huge Ford motors, big power plants making over 1,500 horsepower. But in freestyle, it's not all about horsepower. You got to be able to come up with the moves that thrill the judges. Joe Miller trying to do just that. This is his first year driving the Iron Outlaw, so a driver kind of learning his way through, although he has been very impressive so far in his rookie season aboard the Iron Outlaw. Looking to get some momentum established, though, as he's come up with some combinations, trying to really pick the pace up, though, as he gets close to 30 seconds left of the 90 seconds scheduled in regulation time. Joe Miller in the Iron Outlaw Ford, team based in the middle of the United States, Tonganoxie, Kansas. And that run just really struggling a little bit. Not sure that there might be some issues with the truck. Joe, not now, because he's able to really hit the hammer and get some great air off that jump. So again, on one of the first ever big stadium runs for Joe Miller, looks like maybe just kind of feeling his way through a little bit. And again, he hit some big air. Probably not enough moves to win the competition. He'll have a 15. The fans in Minneapolis loving the action, and why not? With 16 trucks, the freestyle action just keeps on coming, so let's keep it going. Rammunition, Jeremy Dishman is the next to take the track, and again, early on, the scores aren't that high, so there's plenty of room to work with, and Rammunition will look to see if he can put up a run that'll get a number that might be able to stay at the top of the leaderboard for a while. Now, this is a truck, once again, that has not competed as much at televised events at Monster Jam, but obviously is one that is very highly considered, and Jeremy Dishman thrilled to have this opportunity here in front of the big house in Minneapolis and the TV cameras, so really trying to come up with the big air and the big moves that'll be able to move into the top of the list. And he is going to be the first one to take on that stair-step style jump, and he does it beautifully, right up and over, as he is able to make the move and keep the run going. Now, getting down inside where he's going to be close to 30 seconds left in regulation time. You get a great shot from the special camera we have that sits right in the center of the roof in this huge building, the Metrodome in downtown Minneapolis, Minnesota. And Rammunition is putting on a strong run. This may be one that can grab the lead. Remember, if he fills this clock, if it goes to zeros, he can then take another 30 seconds of bonus time. You can get up to 30 points from the 3 judges for your regulation score, and then the bonus judge will add up to 5, depending on what you do with the additional 30 seconds of bonus time. And we look like we're going to see bonus time from Rammunition because he has indeed filled the regulation clock, and now it's bonus time. Nice donuts right there, a total of 18. He didn't last very long in bonus time, so he'll just get 1 bonus point, but that's enough to give Rammunition the lead with a 19. Now, look at this high flyer. It's Shock Therapy, and John Zimmer, who has been in the Monster Jam business for the last few years and has been one of the real rising stars that a lot of people have been keeping their eye on. Shock Therapy generally really gets the crowd fired up, and you can see why. He loves big air freestyles, and that's what he's got started right now. John Zimmer, Monster Jam fans have seen in several trucks so far in his career, including T-Max and including Sudden Impact, but boy, he looks great in this Shock Therapy ride and trying to get the lead away from Rammunition. So far, he has provided the best air, the biggest air that we've seen, and of course that impresses all the Monster Jam fans and the judges. And now he'll spin into some Cyclone-style donuts as well. The surface in Minneapolis, the dirt, has always been conducive for good donuts, and so drivers and performers who really have trucks set up to turn donuts tend to do very well here in Minneapolis because they're going to get the opportunity on this big floor to lay down some great cyclones. But boy, right now, John Zimmer has given us so far the most flow to his run, the most momentum, the most rhythm, and that is something that not only impresses the fans, but it really impresses the judges. And indeed, his score will be 3 7s for a total of 21, and he did get a max of 5 on the bonus, so Shock Therapy takes the lead with a 26, and he may be tough to beat. Ooh, a bad break right there for Bad Habit. He broke right off the bat. and Joe Sylvester's truck is not going to be able to get much of a score because he can only stay out to the track for a few minutes. So 2, 2, and 1 will just give him a total of 5. Now, here's one of the most popular figures this weekend in Minneapolis, the high-flying Superman, Chad Fortune. And look at the big air from the Capes Monster Jam truck. Chad Fortune, a former National Football League player, a former pro football player in Europe. He even spent a little time as a professional wrestler with the old, no longer around WCW organization. Before, about 8 years ago, he made a deal to get involved in Monster Jam, and it has just been a great fit, especially since he's taken over the wheel of the Superman ride. Kind of even fits the bill. Big, tall, athletic. They call him the 6'6" Man of Steel in Monster Jam, and right now he's doing a great job in Superman. But again, he's really going to have to sustain 90 seconds and then go into the bonus time with great momentum, because that was an outstanding score that John Zimmer put up. And look at that camper. A mobile home just got destroyed there, or an RV, if you will. No matter. Superman just mashed it. 20 seconds left on the regulation clock for Chad Fortune and the Superman Ford, trying to see if he can wrest the lead away from Shock Therapy and John Zimmer. Again, this is a huge field in Minneapolis, 16 Monster Jam trucks. So to win this event, you really are going to have to stand out from the crowd. Chad Fortune doing a nice job. Not sure, though, it's enough to get the lead away from Shock Therapy. But he may be close. He's hit some big air and had some big moves. It's just what the judges are looking for. He will be close once they add in the bonus points, but not enough. Your leader is still Shock Therapy. Superman goes into second place. Thanks for joining us for this great event in Minneapolis. A huge night of Monster Jam freestyle with 16 trucks. Now Paul Strong hits the track in the Martial Law Ford. Again, the score to beat, the 26 for Shock Therapy. So John Zimmer continues to sit in first place. A nice slap wheelie to get him going, though, from Martial Law. And we'll see if Strong is able to come up with the run that moves to the top of the leaderboard. And there's some big air right there, as he decided to take that run by going up the dirt side of the mountain rather than stepping up over the cars. But it looks like something may have gone amiss. Either that or he's just trying to gather his momentum back up, because for a second there it looked like, yeah, he's still got power. Thought there may be a bigger problem on the Martial Law ride for Strong. So he continues on now, seems to be regaining momentum, trying to pick the pace up as he heads toward the final 30 seconds of the regulation time. That'll be the first score we look at, and then he has the option of going into bonus time. Paul Strong and Martial Law, again, one of the newcomers on the Monster Jam scene, and certainly impressive right now, as he absolutely has no fear on some of these huge obstacles that the Monster Jam officials have brought this time to the Metrodome in Minneapolis. Nicely done. Tried to get that slap wheelie up, but he just wasn't able to sustain it. Still, he got the landing he wanted, just couldn't quite get what they call the sweet spot when he pulled the front of the truck back up. And indeed, he will continue on with the run. He fills the clock into bonus time. So Martial Law will be able to get all the points the judges think he should, because he'll get a full score from them for 90 seconds and now into the bonus time. So the scores, as you can see, are 16 for his regulation run, 1 for bonus, 17 for Martial Law. Well, here comes one of the drivers we expect to be a top contender for the win here in Minneapolis. It's Damon Bradshaw and the Air Force Afterburner. 2007 Monster Jam Rookie of the Year. And look at this air. Just since he came onto the scene, exploded onto the scene. One Rookie of the Year that first year, was just as impressive his second year, and now in his third year as a Monster Jam superstar, considered a legitimate contender to win a Monster Jam World Championship. And you can see why. Look at the rhythm, the pace of this freestyle as he goes from move to move in the U.S. Air Force Afterburner. One of the things that Bradshaw appreciates is the other drivers who've been in the sport a long time. Nobody watches the other drivers to see what he can pick up or studies how to get a better freestyle harder than Damon Bradshaw. Just a tremendous competitor. Of course, he was a great Supercross champion, and now looking to become a Monster Jam World Champion. And many people expect that that will be in his future, and probably sooner rather than later. He has given these fans in Minneapolis an outstanding freestyle run. Still 25 seconds to go on the clock. Now again, the leader remains Shock Therapy with the 26. Air Force Afterburner be able to give him a run for it. It looks like he will if he can fill this clock and then pick up bonus points as well. Now down to the final 10 seconds of regulation. And there's a nice cross thread move. Whoa, he will not get it. Not going to be able to make it right there. And so again, the scores will be enough to get him into a tie, but not enough to get him the lead. So once again, we have a tie for the lead now as the Air Force Afterburner and Shock Therapy tied with scores of 26. Now Mark Hall brings out the Raminator. Raminator, we saw Ramunition earlier, these teammates coming into the Monster Jam Tour here in Minneapolis. And again, what is the biggest field of trucks ever for Monster Jam here in this building where the sport has been coming for over 2 decades. 16 trucks in the house, and that makes this competition even tougher to win. Raminator just getting it started, but you're going to have to go big to be able to take the victory here on this night in Minneapolis. Off to a pretty solid start. He'll probably need to pick up the pace, especially hit some big air moves and maybe even throw some cross threads in, because we saw some of that from Damon Bradshaw, as well as the huge air that we saw out of John Zimmer, Shock Therapy, and the Air Force Afterburner continuing in that tie for the lead. Nice job on the sky wheelie from Mark Hall in the Raminator as he takes it down inside his final 30 seconds. Lining up the shot. Now he decides against that. He's going to go, I think, for the larger bus stack. No, instead he goes for a sky wheelie on the side. So again, you just don't know how the judges view some of that when you come over to one and move to another obstacle. Let's see what Raminator can finish up with. He's got 10 seconds left on the clock in regulation time, and then he can go for bonus time. Mark Hall will wrap it up, and that's going to do it. And that score will not be enough to grab the lead. Minneapolis, Minnesota, the great freestyle performances continue. 16 trucks on hand, and Jim Benzik is going to try to see if he can't put Rolling Thunder on the top of that list. Jim, the only Minnesota native in the field, so he's in his home state, a native of a city called Faribault, Minnesota, and Rolling Thunder looking good here. He's got a lot of friends, a lot of family in the stands, and wants to be able to turn them on with a big performance. Again, the top score that we've seen is a 26. Air Force Afterburner has a 26. Shock Therapy has a 26. Got to get over that to get the win here in Minneapolis. Jim Benzik kind of slides her around. I thought he was going to cut into a donut, but instead looks like he's just trying to reposition to set up for this car obstacle that he might be able to turn into a wheelie bump. Let's see if he can pull that front end up. Got it up a little. Couldn't quite snap it in to a slap wheelie. Down to the final 35 seconds of his regulation time. Jim Benzik, the popular driver from the state of Minnesota, here in his home state, love to report a big victory on this big stage here in Minneapolis, and of course with the TV cameras going and a worldwide audience watching Rolling Thunder in action. Looks like he is probably going to be able to fill that regulation time, as he looks pretty solid still with now just 10 seconds left on the clock. And he will wind that. Look at that no-handed donut. You can see him holding his hands out the window, and so the fans able to appreciate that. You can see that no hands on the steering wheel as he just keeps going around and around and around. The best set of Cyclone donuts by far that these fans have seen tonight, and they're loving it. Look at it from the top of the Metrodome. Listen to this crowd. They loved it. And largely on the scale of those donuts, pretty good scores for Jim Benzik. So Rolling Thunder will end up getting a couple of bonus points, and the 21 is his score. Now, the fans here are thrilled to see the reigning world freestyle champion. Here it's Adam Anderson and Taz, and he's already flattened the tire. Barely seconds into the run, the left rear tire has flattened on Taz, and this is not good. As a matter of fact, he's flattened both the left side tires, the left front and the left rear. But if we know one thing about anybody named Anderson, his dad, Dennis, or Adam, a couple of flat tires, he's not going to stop. He is going to continue on. One of the reasons he has become, at just the age of 23 years old, one of the elite in the sport, Adam Anderson and Taz. And again, he came into this sport by going over to Europe and learning the ropes there. His father, the famous Dennis Anderson, put him to work there, and he started driving there, spent a year driving for Team Gravedigger when Dennis was hurt, and since then got back in his truck, Taz, and he took it to the World Championship. The World Freestyle title was his 1 year ago at Sam Boyd Stadium in Las Vegas. And you can see he's just not going to quit. Flat tires or no flat tires, that rubber is going to come right off the rim here any time now, and he will just continue on. He's filling the clock. And the fans and the judges have to appreciate the effort from this young man. He can't get the huge air that he wanted because he can't establish the momentum to get up the ramps and over the jumps. But nonetheless, a run that's got to impress the judges, and indeed, he's going to end up as well in that tie for the lead. However, we still have a couple more big guns to go. It's a three-way tie for the lead right now between Shock Therapy, the Air Force Afterburner, and Taz as well. But here comes a guy, well, I was about to say capable of winning it, but he breaks the wheel right off the bat, and Jimmy Cretan will only get a score of 8. So a three-way tie. If it ends in a three-way tie, there is a separate judge up in the scoring booth who has been scoring every run. That judge is the tie-breaking judge. His scores are never looked at unless there is a tie for the win. So right now, he knows who he would select between the three who are sitting in the hot seat tied. Now we'll watch Gravedigger. Can Gravedigger make it a four-way tie? Can Gravedigger get enough to just outright win it? Or will we have to break that three-way tie? We're about to find that out, and Chad Tingler doesn't want it to come down to a tiebreaker. He's coming out strong with huge air. Team Gravedigger driver Chad Tingler turning these fans on, and there are tens of thousands of Gravedigger fans in this house. They've been cheering for this truck since Dennis Anderson first brought it into the Minneapolis-St. Paul area back in 1982. And Gravedigger has just been hugely popular here ever since. And look at this run from Team Gravedigger driver Chad Tingler. Again, it's that flow, that rhythm where he goes from move to move. Now he'll cross thread, and he does a beautiful job over the buses onto the dirt mountain. And he's not done yet. Yeah, the door is flopped open, but he's still strapped in. He is still safe and can continue. Let's see what Gravedigger decides to do. It's come down to the final 10 seconds of regulation time and then to get into bonus time. Wow, more big air. Chad Tingler getting the job done, and it appears that he is on his way to the victory here in Minneapolis as he is going into bonus time with even more big air. What a great run from Chad Tingler and Gravedigger as the body panels are coming off. The judges give him a 27. The bonus is a 4. He is your winner.
Let's hear it for Gravedigger! Chad, congratulations on a superb win in a capacity crowd.
Yeah, I want to thank each and every one of these fans for coming out here. We know the times are tough, man, for you guys spending your hard-earned money to see all that Gravedigger merchandise. Everybody standing up here cheering and clapping. Thank my crew guy, Cole. We've been fighting shock problems all night long, and he got it figured out. Adam, 2 tires, and he was going strong. Thank you to everybody for coming out, man. We appreciate it.
How about it, folks? Let's hear it. Chad Tingler and Gravedigger.
So Gravedigger comes out on top of the largest field in the storied history of Monster Jam in the Minneapolis Metrodome. A three-way tie for second between Taz, the Afterburner, and, of course, Shock Therapy. We get a look at the highlights at the fabulous Metrodome in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Every time you tune us in, you're going to see the best high-flying action. I'm Scott Douglas. See you next time on Monster Jam.